You're listening to Sports Jam, recorded March 18th, 2012. Episode 29, Off-Seasons. There's more than one.
I'm Chad Satera. Let's welcome MyFantasyLeague.com as a proud partner.
I'm Stephen Pepper. Beer? Ice cold? Or very hot?
I'm Vince O'Connor. Microphone's finally working.
And I'm Rob Steele. Let's find out what happened in the off-season.
The 2012 baseball season is just weeks away. Before we get to the baseball season, let's review exactly what happened during the offseason.
It's time for baseball news with The Wild Pitch. Yes, it's time to take a look at what happened during this offseason. Let's go from left to right and start with the AL West. Your American League champion Texas Rangers made a big splash by signing Japanese pitcher Yu Darvish to replace C.J. Wilson. Wilson went to Anaheim to join fellow free agent Albert Pujols as probably the biggest splash free agent signing of the offseason. Oakland signed Manny Ramirez in what has left a lot of people scratching their heads. Youth movement, Manny Ramirez, yeah, that goes together. And the Mariners picked up Jesus Montero from the Yankees. Good offensive player? Yes. Defensive liability? We'll see. He's young. In the National League West, Carlos Quentin was the big acquisition for San Diego, and Los Angeles signed Matt Kemp to a long-term, 8-year, $160 million deal. Of course, I remember another big contract that LA signed that was similar, that was with Kevin Brown. Not the best deal if you happen to look back on it. LA may have kept Kemp, but Kemp made an acquisition of his own. Apparently, he's now hanging out with Rihanna. Want to bet that won't get as much coverage as A-Rod and, what's her name? Meanwhile, in the NL Central, Andrew McCutchen signed a big contract with Pittsburgh, who may actually be contending this year. Otherwise, the big news out of the NL Central is the loss of Albert Pujols and Prince Fielder. Fielder went to Detroit over in the American League Central, where he's going to play first base. Miguel Cabrera, the former first baseman, moves back to his original position. That would be third. Is he a defensive liability at third? Possibly. But he's an unbelievable offensive player. Expect a juggernaut offense to come out of Detroit. Meanwhile, in the AL East, New York wagered that losing Montero would be okay if they got pitching in return. And they got some good pitching. They got Michael Pineda, who was one of last year's top rookie pitchers, and Hiroki Kuroda from the Dodgers. Did that actually improve their pitching staff? Well, maybe. Not necessarily as much as getting rid of A.J. Burnett, who, by the way, went to Pittsburgh and is currently on the disabled list after breaking his eye socket by fouling a ball off his own face. Also in the AL East, Carlos Pena returned to Tampa to give the Rays a much-needed power boost. And also atop the American League East, there's Boston. Oh dear, Boston. They lost their World Series winning GM to the Cubs. They lost their manager to chicken and beer, apparently. And they got Bobby Valentine from ESPN. I mean, no offense to Bobby Valentine, who does the job better than I probably could. Although if someone wants to hire me, email the show. But is his record really worth the potential headaches I can see coming? I mean, yes, he does have a career .510 winning percentage, but he's always struck me as someone who's had issues following him around. I mean, remember when he got kicked out of a game a few years ago and snuck back into the dugout with the fake mustache? His career average to finish is 4th place. And that may have worked for Boston before they won the World Series in 2004, but I don't think that's going to cut it now. Expect more issues here. Meanwhile, in the National League East, the Braves are expecting a big comeback from Jason Hayward, and quite frankly, so am I. The Marlins have a new stadium, shortstop, closer, and manager. Will they be competing this year? Will the Nationals have a good season? Will Ryan Howard be Ryan Howard when he comes back from his ankle injury? And should we really expect anything other than pain and sorrow from the Mets? Tune in next week for a rundown of the season predictions. Or do you think we have time to do some of those season predictions this week, guys?
Now let's talk about the American League. With the season beginning on March 28th in Japan, Seattle versus Oakland. It's time to talk American League baseball. Rob, you did a great job on the off-season, but now it's time to get down and dirty. Honestly, guys, I really don't think there's any competition with 4 teams. You might have the 5th wild card as competition, but I've got Yankees, Tigers, Rangers, and Angels already locked in. It's just that fifth spot that I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Yankees, Tigers, who and who?
Rangers and Angels.
I actually do not have I have the Angels making the fifth wild card spot, the Sox are not in it. I actually have Tampa winning the American League East.
Well, that's kind of tough there.
Their pitching is another year improved. They've got Carlos Pena, who was the leader of the team, back at first, and they've got a full season of Desmond Jennings, who I think is going to be the breakout player this year.
Wasn't he supposed to be the breakout player last year?
He wasn't that bad last year, and they only had him for half a season.
Why do you think Tampa Bay held him back so long? I mean, I remember him coming up it was past midseason, correct?
Yes.
And I mean, what kind of stats did he have when he came up and played in the big leagues?
When he came up, he was hitting in the upper 200s, which I think is going to improve this year. He had power. He's great in the field. It's the same thing that we always hear with the look at the big prospect coming up. Well, they hold quarterbacks back for how long? Usually,
Sure.
Unless you're Cam Newton.
And I think you're right there, but I think Tampa Bay has a history of doing this too, don't they?
They do. Evan Longoria could have been up before he was. Ben Zobrist, B.J. Upton, but they like holding them back just to make sure that they're ready, and I think he is now.
And when you've got a manager like Joe Madden there, I mean, you've got to respect the decisions that Tampa Bay's making, and they are the team that I was kind of guessing as maybe being the wild card. They snuck up on everybody last year. How many games were they down? 9 at the beginning of September. They found a way to make the playoffs, and honestly, I think the key to Tampa Bay is their pitching staff. They've got the best staff on paper, according to everyone, and I don't know. I think left-handed pitcher David Price, the Vanderbilt prospect, I mean, he's in his 4th year now. He should become a dominant pitcher. If he doesn't do what he's supposed to, that could be where Tampa Bay's in trouble.
It could be, but then there's also New York, whose pitching staff, on paper, it looks improved, even with Andy Pettitte, who may or may not be coming back. Yeah, jeez. I saw that the other day, and I thought, really? Why? I mean, you can't come back at this point. It's too late in spring training to go, ooh, hey guys, can I play too? They were starting to gel, and let's add more water. Ooh, it doesn't gel as much. Not liking that move.
Yeah, I don't think the Yankees are going to have a problem having Andy Pettitte gel with the team, though.
Well, that's just it. It's not the same team.
It's not the same
from
team.
A pitching standpoint.
I agree with you, but you can look at this pitching staff and see that it's far more improved than what they had last year.
True.
Would you agree with that?
You'd be
I would agree
surprised
with
what
that.
not being tested for steroids will do when you're away from baseball so long. And I think Andy Pettitte got himself healthy again, roided up a little bit like he did in the past, and there you go. Now he's ready to fly under the radar for the rest of the season.
You're something else. You really are.
Yankee hater.
I have a question.
Let's get back to the Tampa Bay Rays real quick. I want to ask Rob a question. Rob, what do you think about the pitcher they have, the top prospect they have, left-handed pitcher Matt Moore?
Matt Moore. I think Matt Moore is going to end up being a Pat Henkin type player. He's going to be really good for the first couple of seasons, like he was last. I mean, he came in. His second game was a playoff game, which he won quite handily, I believe. I think he's going to be a great player for the first few years, but I think the American League will catch up to him. I don't see him being a Hall of Fame player. I see him being a good pitcher for a few years.
So you don't think he's a can't-miss all-star, right?
I think he could be a can't-miss all-star, like I said, for the first couple of years, and then everyone's going to go, oh, he pitches like that, and his last couple of years will not be anywhere near as good as he is now.
And I have one more question to ask and to talk about. Can somebody please tell me what the Kansas City Royals are going to do this year? They've been down in the bottom of those standings for so many years. Is this the year that they bounce back?
I have them as second in the Central.
I agree with you. I think they've got a pretty good ball club.
Detroit has got too big of an offensive juggernaut to beat this year. But Kansas City has got a very surprising young team. Eric Hosmer at first, I think, is going to be not. He's going to be. Like I said, Desmond Jennings, I think, is going to be our big breakout player this year. Hosmer is going to be a close second.
Hey,
He didn't
Rob,
do too bad last year, if I remember correctly.
He didn't. And actually, I found this, and I thought this was interesting. Since 2006, and I'm just going to throw this out to all of you, who has played the most games at shortstop? And you can include the National League in this.
Jeff
Well,
Francoeur.
obviously. Who?
Did you say Jeff
Cal
Francoeur?
Ripken.
You know what? You asked me. You asked a silly question.
Would that be Uneski Betancourt?
Yes, it would.
That's what I thought.
More than Jeter, and third place, oddly, is Hanley Ramirez, which is why I saw it come up the other day. But that struck me as odd because everybody else has got, I guess, more fragile shortstops. I wasn't thinking that Betancourt was around that long. But he has been there every day, and he doesn't put up bad numbers.
No, not at all.
So
He puts up bad numbers at all.
Rob, I have a question for you. Why do you not see the Red Sox getting at least into the wild card? I mean, they were leading the wild card. They collapsed like the Braves. Why do you not? Bobby Valentine can't bring them together? What do you?
No, he's just bringing a different flavor of beer into the clubhouse.
He brings Guinness,
Old ale.
and it's warm. So I'm sorry, Bobby Valentine he's going to kick my ass if he ever hears this. He's never impressed me. He's had the one season where he took his team to the World Series. He's had a couple of second-place finishes, but like I said a little while ago, he finishes fourth more often than not.
But who did he finish fourth with? The Mets
and Texas.
Okay.
But this was Texas when they had Juan Gonzalez, A-Rod, I-Rod, Palmeiro. He had the pieces. I don't know if he doesn't know how to do jigsaw puzzles.
He knows how to do mask. He knows how to do
he's not going to end up on Mission Impossible or anything, but yes, he knows how to apply fake mustaches.
You've got to think everything is going to go the way for the Red Sox this year. This is their 100th year at Fenway Park, and it's not a park that makes a team, but it's a lot of tradition there. They're going to take that home field advantage. I think they're going to take it to a next level. You've got a coach, a manager that's going to motivate them a lot more, and they weren't that far off. You've got to say he's at least worth 2 or 3 wins more than last year, and if that's the case, they're in the playoffs. The
thing about that is, though, I think Tampa Bay is going. I mean, yes, Boston could be 2 or 3 wins more. I think Tampa's going to be 6 or 7 better.
And you guys can't leave out and overlook the Cleveland Indians this year either.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't. The Cleveland Indians. You can't overlook them. Rob, tell them.
I'd like to.
Yeah, shut up, Vince. That's what I'm saying.
Come on, I'm telling you.
No, Cleveland.
Cleveland
is going to have pieces come together. They're going to have to mesh a lot better. Right now, I have them doing well in the Central.
Really? I mean, have you seen the rotation?
But I don't have
this
Chicago.
Year?
The rotation, I think, is similar to Tampa's in that they're young, and I think they could be good. But Tampa has proven theirs a bit more, and Cleveland hasn't yet. They could. I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to object to a surprise.
Well, yeah,
at all.
Justin Masterson and Ubaldo Jimenez. I think you even have Derek Lowe, the ex-Brave, there this year.
I'm sorry.
Who?
Yes, Lowe has been proven.
I mean, Lowe is horrible. Trust me, as an Atlanta fan, he's not going to help them out.
Lowe was better in the American League than he was in the National.
He's horrible. You got Detroit and White Sox. I don't think Cleveland can surpass either one of them.
And I think that's the problem with Cleveland in the Central is there's better teams in front of them right now.
I mean, the Central has Detroit, and they're far and above better than everybody else. I honestly think that group of 4, Cleveland, Minnesota, Chicago, and Kansas City, I think they're a lot closer together, and I can see where Vince is saying, they have a shot. They have a shot at being second, but second in that division is not going to get you into the playoffs, even with adding 6 or 7 wild card teams. Honestly, you've got Minnesota, you bring back Mauer and Morneau, if they're both healthy, we know what Minnesota can do on a low budget. They're there. They always find a way to make it there. And Chicago, you got Robin Ventura. He's a legend in Chicago. You get rid of that drama of Ozzie Guillen, Chicago has a chance. So, you got to mix and match that division. Nobody other than the Tigers are going to make it, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Tigers have just got too strong a team this year.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Compared to the other 2 divisions, I don't think Detroit is going to have as good a year as Tampa. I have teams projected better than Detroit. the Angels, Texas, the Yankees, and Tampa as eventually having better records than Detroit.
Yeah.
But Detroit is by far and away the leader in the Central.
You don't think
the MVP.
the addition of Prince Fielder, though, you don't think Detroit can, do better than they did last year?
I don't know that they are going to do better than last year. I do have projected it, and if we want to go into these, yes, Verlander is still the best pitcher in the American League.
And the
Is he an
MVP.
MVP?
No,
He
he's
is-
not. No, he's not.
Your MVP is going to come from Detroit, and I want to.
Miguel.
This is going to go back to the Sports Jam, the original version. Back in '98, there was somebody who predicted that Sammy Sosa would break Maris's record. And as far as I know, he's the only person who predicted it on the planet, and that was me. Thank you very much. And the reason I did it was because Sosa finally got protection in the lineup in the form of Henry Rodriguez, who was coming off his career year. This year, Miguel Cabrera has protection in his lineup in the form of Prince Fielder. Cabrera was putting up MVP numbers to begin with. So now that he's got Fielder behind him, I think Cabrera could actually win a Triple Crown this year.
I agree.
Well, I've had
because
him in fantasy baseball 3 years in a row, and I definitely agree with that.
You
That
can't.
protection.
You got protection. I mean, who did he have before? Brandon Inge, who was not bad, but he's not Prince Fielder.
I agree with you 100%. And that's why I think they're going to do better. I mean, working off what they did last year, you add Prince Fielder, Cabrera does have that guy behind him that they're scared to pitch to, so he's going to get better pitches.
The only reason I don't have them as improving is because I don't know how Cabrera is going to do at third, which is a very important defensive position. If he turns out to be as good as he was when he came up with the Marlins, then yeah, they'll improve. But he's larger now, and I don't see that working.
So is most of America. We're all larger.
Getting back to these predictions and playoffs, can any of you guys see the possibility of 3 playoff teams coming out of the East and just the winner of the Central, winner of the West? I mean, it's possible.
It is possible. Bobby Valentine could surprise everybody, but I don't see that happening. I don't see Toronto doing it, and the other team being Baltimore.
And they haven't finished
No,
500 in 14 years.
Texas and the Angels, or Texas Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels, I mean, it's going to be a knockdown drag-out, I think, to win the West. But I think who's second is going to get into that final wild card spot.
Well, before we go to those predictions and answer Vince's question, we haven't talked about the defending 2-time American League champions, the Texas Rangers. Josh Hamilton's in a contract year this year, so he's bound to have another great season like he has in the past if he can get over his off-season woes with alcohol again. Then you add Yu Darvish, who has been a monster in Japan. He's got 7 pitches that are considered major league style pitches, which is sickening. You hear 3-4 from a player, but 7? I mean, come on. You add him as the ace of that rotation. Texas is better, and we're not even talking about them yet.
Well, what is there to talk about? Who is their competition in the West?
You've got the Angels,
the Angels,
which they've got
who added
the best player in baseball.
They added Pujols.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. And what else?
Well, they added C.J. Wilson, which it's a big move. I mean, he was the ace of the Rangers, and he comes over. He's not even the ace of the Angels. So, I mean, you take an ace off of a team and put him on another team in your same division. He's not even your best pitcher in a 3-game series when you have to face Jared Reaver and C.J. Wilson. The Angels could be a team that gives Texas a shot at not only the American League but at least the division.
The Angels, I think. The problem with the Angels is that half of their team is getting too old. The other half is not proven. And the addition of Pujols is a great thing for them, and they needed it, and they're finally going to get publicity, which they haven't had because they're in Los Angeles with the Dodgers, that's their city, even though it's really the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which has got to be the most... that's the stupidest name right up there with the Mighty Ducks.
Good movies. They should have stopped at one.
Oh, yeah, Emilio Estevez, my favorite brand of ice cream.
Now, are they the Texas Rangers? Are they going to bring Neftali Feliz out of the bullpen and put him in the starting rotation since they have Joe Nathan there now?
That is the idea. Yes, Feliz was a starter in the minors, And the only reason they put him in the bullpen was because they felt they had enough pitching that they could put him in the bullpen.
Plus, he throws
now
hard.
That they've got Nathan, now that they've got Nathan back, or well, not back, they've got Nathan from Minnesota. They can put Feliz back into the starting rotation. So that, I think, levels out the C.J. Wilson thing.
Yeah, but does it weaken their bullpen? Because does Joe Nathan have enough to come back after he was with Minnesota and he got hurt?
I have a feeling he's going to be coming back, and he's coming back with something to prove. Because I don't think Minnesota quite treated him the way they really should have. So he's going to come back probably with a chip on his shoulder, and it'll be his pitching shoulder, and that chip adds an extra 5 miles an hour to the fastball.
Well, let's be clear now. He did have Tommy John surgery, so
that's true.
How's that going to affect him? Now he's probably a year and a half out of Tommy John surgery, so he should be completely recovered by now. Correct?
Correct. And that surgery it's to the point now when you have that surgery that it'll put you back where you were before. I mean, back when Tommy John himself had it, yes, he had to change the way he pitched, but now players can come back and be the same player they were before. And he was pretty impressive before.
Yeah.
So I think having him in the bullpen, that's him or Neftali Feliz. Either way, you've got a really good
what
closer.
happens if Joe Nathan falls?
Panic.
So what happens if Joe Nathan falls this year? Do they take Neftali, put him back in the bullpen as the closer row, and bring up somebody from the minors? Is that what they do?
That's something we're going to have to find out as the season goes on. I really don't know what they would do.
Rob, what about the Mariners? I think they need to stay in Japan.
They're open to seats there.
And they're popular there. Yeah, unfortunately, Seattle
They're close enough to
is not the worst team in the American League, but certainly not the best in the West.
Is Ichiro done? I mean, he's 38 years old.
No, Ichiro can play forever the way he plays.
He can. I mean, he can. You mentioned Darvish with his 7 different pitches. Ichiro, I think, has 12 different swings. Have you seen the commercial that they did with him for the Mariners? And look it up on YouTube because I think it's brilliant. They were talking about how, maybe he can hit anything. And so they take a bucket of stuff out to the mound, and Ichiro's hitting toilet paper and Tic Tacs and tires and whatever, he can hit it.
Hey,
and
before we,
that's
go ahead. I love interrupting. That's what I do best on this show.
Yeah,
indeed.
Hey, before we do our predictions in the American League, one last thing. There was a great movie this past summer called Moneyball, and everybody really, I didn't really know about Billy Beane and what he did in Oakland back when the A's won 20 games in a row. I mean, he put statistics together and used math to build his team and get them where they need to be. This year they sign Manny Ramirez. It's all a part of that Moneyball scheme. They get him cheap. He might have a year left in him. Do you see the A's, running off of this whole Moneyball thing and becoming relevant in the division race?
No, because they got rid of all their pitching. They sent...
It's all about strategy. Come on.
I have forgotten all of their names, but they've sent one, I think, to Arizona. There's one that went to somewhere in the American League East, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten them off the top of my head.
You're absolutely right.
They had some.
If you look at their starting rotation right now, there's only one name that I recognize, and that's Dallas Braden.
Well, they had some other good pitchers last year, but they traded them all for prospects, so it's going to be a couple of years before I think we see Oakland compete again. I think they got Manny in to put people in the stands to find out, oh my God, what's he going to do now? And to give them a small influx of money because they got him cheap. They got Cespedes from Cuba.
Now hold on for a minute. They got him cheap,
sorry.
But he might not even play the whole entire year. He might get suspended again.
True.
You never know
but
with him.
Manny being Manny.
I think he's only there for them to have someone to say, hey, come look at us. We got Manny, and put butts in the seats. I think Cespedes is going to have a much better year than Manny. But no one knows who he is yet. Just there's an American League Rookie of the Year for you, because apparently we're allowed to take people from other countries and claim that they're rookies, which I don't quite understand because they've been playing professionally for years. But there we go.
Darvish also, right?
I think Darvish has the potential, but I think in the American League it would be Cespedes. And I'm probably even pronouncing his name wrong.
Because pitchers can't win big awards. Just ask
But
Rob last year at the end of the baseball season.
You don't think Jesus Montero has a shot at that?
I think they would give it to Cespedes over Montero because Oakland will do better than Seattle, which I don't get the way they vote anymore. After the Verlander thing, I don't get it.
Thank you.
That's why I use numbers.
Oh, here we go.
Numbers
right,
never lie.
Let's use numbers then, guys. It is the American League preview show, and we are going to predict our 5 teams in the American League that we believe are going to be in the playoffs, and then ultimately pick the team that we think is going to come out of the American League. Let's start it off with the Baseball Insider. Rob, who are your division winners and your 2 wild cards?
Tampa, Detroit, Texas. The 2 wild cards are the Yankees and the Angels.
Vince.
I still like the Yankees in the East. Obviously, Detroit in the Central and Texas out in the West. I have Tampa Bay as a wild card and Cleveland.
Wow. Bold pick.
Really?
Nice. I like it.
Steven.
I got Red Sox winning the East. Nobody believes in them. They'll do it. Tigers, Rangers. 2 wild cards are Yankees and Angels.
Good predictions there, too. And I'm going to sit with the Rays as the wild card, Yankees winning the East. We've got Tigers winning the Central, and have the Rangers winning the West with the Angels playing in that wild card game. Gentlemen, American League winners.
Texas is going back to the series.
I think it's the Yankees' year again. I like the Yankees.
I like Texas.
And I'll take Detroit. There you go. Next week we're going to preview the National League. But before we close out the show, we've got a new partner on board. It is the MyFantasyLeague.com. Robla, take it away. MyFantasyLeague.com, new partner of Sports Jam. I'm Chad Satera from the Real Sports Jam, and I am a commissioner of 3 MyFantasyLeague.com leagues. It's the NFL offseason, free agency, awards, training camp, combines, retirement, player holdouts, and the draft. All this, without any football being played, can leave your fantasy team in a stressful state of mind. Well, stress no more. The most complete fantasy football website, MyFantasyLeague.com, has all the answers to help you strategize your team in the offseason just as well as it can during the season. But it gets better. MyFantasyLeague.com also allows your commissioner to customize your league scoring, incorporate a unique seasonal site design, create dynasty and keeper league setup status, and also keep track of your salary cap. Need more? How about live and email drafts, live scoring, weekly player matchups, and start-not-start suggestion by the experts. So to get your fantasy football fix that meets your everyday need all year round, there's only one site to consider, MyFantasyLeague.com, a proud partner of the Real Sports Jam. So perusing through the Facebook page of MyFantasyLeague.com, we got a question from Paul. His question of the week is, I am in a Protect 5 keeper going to keep Michael Vick, Chris Johnson, Ahmad Bradshaw, Roddy White, and either C.J. Spiller or Jeremy Maclin. The question, he's got 2 questions. One is, who does he keep, C.J. Spiller or Jeremy Maclin? Second question is, should he trade his second-round pick this year and a first-round pick next year for wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald? Vince, Steven, Rob. I know, Rob, you're not much into the football stuff, but...
Do not keep Spiller, because anyone who's named after something that you're not supposed to do, i.e. spilling, yeah. He's...
No. Well, I will tell you this before I ask you guys these questions. I got an email from Paul this morning, and he does have a little bit of a change-up in this. He also has Brandon Lloyd, wide receiver, who was just signed by the New England Patriots, in the mix. He's got 7 players, needs to keep 5, and then does he go after Larry Fitzgerald?
I'm confused. Why does he want to go after Larry Fitzgerald and give up the picks? I mean, Larry Fitzgerald only had 8 TDs last year, 1,400 yards receiving, yes, but 8 TDs. Kevin Cobb is not proven.
But if they get Manning...
They're not going to get Manning. They're out. It's San Fran, Tennessee, Denver.
Jacksonville.
They just gave Cobb a $7 million extension bonus, something.
Roster
and you guys want to hear the most up-to-date thing here is that Alex Smith is visiting Miami today. What's that tell you?
That tells you what I told you guys many weeks ago. Peyton Manning was going to be a San Francisco 49er. Maybe not.
Chad,
back to the question at hand. Go back to the question at hand.
That's what I'm trying to do. Do you want to give up a second round and a first round pick for a guy that's getting into his 30s? Why do you want to give up those picks when you can get somebody young that's going to be good and you can keep him?
Here's the beauty about fantasy football. And I know, Vince, go ahead, and then I'll get into my reasoning.
I traded him 2 years ago to Chad. I traded him because I didn't after what's his name left?
Kurt Warner.
Yeah, after he left, they had nobody to throw him the ball.
Thank you.
And that's evident after what's happened the last 2 years. What did I trade him to you for? I gave you him and Eli Manning, and you in return gave me what?
A button,
2 beer,
a button and a piece of string.
No,
I gave him.
Chad, tell him who you gave me.
An injury-prone Andre Johnson and an Aaron Rodgers. There's obviously more involved in the trade. That's why it was made. But those were the key elements of the trade. But
did I hear Aaron Rodgers in that?
Yes, you did.
That is blockbuster deal.
That was blockbuster. But
Oh, Chad. Even I know that was stupid.
And how many championships have you won since then, Vince? None. Okay, so needless to say. But let's go back to it. And I hear you guys sit there and say, why would you want to go after Larry Fitzgerald? Okay, first of all, a second-round pick this year in a keeper league with 5 players already on your roster. Who does he have on his roster? You have an aging Roddy White who we all know is not going to be the number 1 guy in Atlanta for much longer. In fact, I'd be willing to bet you Roddy White has a significant drop in his total production this year with the emergence of Julio Jones. There is nobody else in Arizona. So you sit there and say, who's going to throw him the ball? Kevin Kolb, if he stays healthy, is going to throw him the ball. Larry Fitzgerald's production, yardage-wise, went up almost 300 yards this year on 10 less receptions over the year before, and he had 2 more touchdowns. You get him a guy that's going to throw him the ball, there's no doubt in my mind you need a star receiver on that roster that already has a Michael Vick, already has a Chris Johnson.
I don't agree with it.
What are you giving up, though?
You're giving up a second round and then a first round the next year.
You're giving up in this year's draft, you're giving up the player that, even if he has the first pick in the second round, the 73rd best player in the league, and next year, the 61st best player in the league for a guy that is arguably a top 10 player overall in any fantasy draft.
How many teams are in this league?
I'm guessing based on the average of 12 teams. The information I do not have from Paul. But even so, even if it's a 10-team league, you're still getting a top 10 player.
Okay, why did John Skelton and Larry Fitzgerald have a better connection than Cobb? And
Cobb was concussed the whole year.
Oh, okay. So he's not going to get concussed this year? He hasn't proven himself? Why would you take that gamble? So you want to take that gamble? He only had eight TDs. Is that good?
But in a yardage league, 1,400 yards is a big number. Big number.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
Enormous.
The only thing is
enormous number.
Can he duplicate that this year? You're giving up a second-round pick and a first-round pick for who knows what can happen. I would not give those picks up.
You got to look exactly, and you got to look. I mean, they didn't want to pay Peyton Manning $28 million. The Colts, they didn't want to pay him because they looked at
he could end up with RG3.
They looked at the
big
C3PO.
Picture.
You got to look ahead. In 2013, is Fitzgerald going to be any good? And then you're losing a first-round pick.
Yeah, but his worst season is 6 touchdown receptions. That's his worst season.
He'll be 30. When you get to 30, you drop off. You know that in professional sports, 30's old.
And that's why Randy Moss had how many touchdowns 4 years ago when he was 32?
How many did he have last year? How many did
he didn't play last year?
He had a quarterback that could throw to him.
How many did T.O.?
That's why we love this show. That's why we love fantasy football. Hey, real quick, the other question he has is who would he keep, C.J. Spiller or Jeremy Maclin? Is there any debate here who you guys would keep?
Not at all. You're going to keep C.J. Spiller. No doubt about it.
Keep C.J. Spiller. I agree.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that, even though Maclin...
I don't know who the hell either of those guys are, so...
Yeah, I mean, just the potential of C.J. Spiller going into his third season, having the opportunity to supplant Fred Jackson, who's in a contract year. Spiller was very effective the last 3 games for the Bills. I would also keep C.J. Spiller.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't touch Maclin. You don't know about the Eagles. They were Jekyll and Hyde last year. I mean, Maclin only had 859 yards, 5 TDs last year. Vic gets hurt. every other game. I think
Cup, right?
I think Spiller is a more solid keep than Macklin.
All right, gentlemen, let's take Sports Jam into overtime with my question of the week. Do you think ice cold beer is best?
Why, of course.
It's beer. I'll leave it at that just to make you happy.
And Vince?
It's beer and it's cold. I like it.
All right. Well, according to expert, these beers that are served at 38 degrees actually keeps the tingly carbonation intact, thus hiding the taste from your taste buds. Sensory scientist Sue Lagstaff says beer will be best served at 55 degrees to give off better flavors. I personally think science has got this one wrong. Time for me to crack open an ice-cold beer and close out this show. Sports Jam will be back next week with another knockout episode. But until then,
follow us on Twitter at TRSportsJam, friend us on Facebook, or email us at therealsportsjam@gmail.com.
thank you to our sponsor, the Danny Nagy Band. Until next week, Sports Jam, we're out.